It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Jameson has a question for you guys. Would you recommend looking for a one-size-fits-all professional, tax and investment advice, or would you find one person for taxes and another for investments?
When it comes to taxes specifically, you have to be more clear about what it is you're asking. When you say a one-size-fits-all for taxes, are you talking about tax planning or tax preparation? Because I'd love to hear from you, Brian, a little bit, having been in the industry, worked as an accountant. Those two aren't necessarily the same thing. There's the compliance, the actual doing the tax return, but then there's what some advisory and some accountants do where it's more about planning for what's going to be on the return next year, right? Those aren't necessarily the exact same thing.
Well, I also think that there's an industry trend because I'm a CPA by training. I was an accounting major in college, worked in public accounting, got my CPA and all that stuff. And then don't forget what got me into financial planning was in the mid-90s. It's the stuff that also brought us Enron, is that financial CPAs got the ability to not only do just compliance work, they got to really go all in, whole hog on consulting and other things to add value to their clients. So it wasn't uncommon for a lot of CPA firms that started adding financial planning arms to their firms because it just looked like, man, this was easy. And that disrupted for years. You had the three stool method where you had your insurance agent, your financial planner, and then your CPA. They were all doing different things. And then you start noticing in the mid-90s that they're all looking at each other like the attorneys, and everybody's like, well, maybe we're financial planners. And then insurance agents started buying mutual fund companies and going, we can do that. Everybody was like, man, we're just going to go do it all because we want the whole 100% pot of the money. And that was the game for a little bit. But then there started to be some cracks by that because I will tell you, it's hard to be good at everything. And that's what I think it's so interesting. Being in the industry long enough, I don't see a lot of CPA firms that now have financial planning rings. A lot of them that were successful have spun those wings off now where they're, and I'm not going to give their names because that seems crazy to give free advertising like that. But a lot of them are some of the bigger RIA firms were spinoffs of CPA firms because they realized, man, this is hard. These are two different businesses. We got to keep it. But I don't want to be a hypocrite and tell you that there's not a great financial planner that might also be the CPA that does your taxes. Because when I started my first business, realizing when I went out on my own in 2002, I had both tax background as well as I had financial planning background. Really hard to get financial planning clients because I just didn't know a lot of wealthy people. Real easy for me to go get tax preparation business because everybody needs their taxes, and I was a good CPA. Yeah. So I was able to load the books up with tons of tax prep and then slowly over time build up my financial planning business. But I did get to a point, and this is something if you're talking to somebody who can do both, ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because I got to the point where my passion was in the financial planning. I was good at the compliance. I love tax planning because it's also a very important component of being a good financial planner. Believe me, everybody here who's a lead advisor, I have turned them into CPA-esque because they all have to be really good at taxes on reviewing tax returns and so forth. But it's hard. I mean, if you've ever worked a tax season,
it's grueling.
I mean, you get kicked in the gut a lot of hours. I mean, I think my wife, she's still shocked when we take vacations now in like February or March because there were 16 years of our life together that I was like, you're not going to see me during really from late January through April 15th. I'm just not around. I mean, because I'm going to be at the office. I'm going to be working because you're in it. And one of the best things I did was sell my tax business. So I would challenge whoever you're working with that says they can do both. Find out, is this just the bridge method like I use to get them to where they ultimately are financial planners, or do they think they can do it all? And because that's a whole nother thing, because you have to hire CPAs to do the tax prep. You have to hire financial planners to do the financial planning. It's hard to have a scalable growth firm to where you're not just relying on one person if you're trying to be a jack of all trades. So that's where I am with this, because I think it's hard to be one size fits all, because I think insurance agents have figured this out. I think CPA firms have figured this out. And we're seeing people realize that there's a lot of value and being really good at what you're supposed to be the expert on. And that's why I love that we can review a tax return for a client, but we work with the CPAs of the clients to kind of make sure we navigate things well, because we want to be the technicians, the experts for our clients, but we're not trying to actually do the true compliance work.
Yeah, we're obviously biased. We kind of love our model. We do tons of tax planning. We don't do any tax preparation. We do tons of insurance planning, but when it comes time to actually buy insurance products, so you have to buy that from someone else. Yeah, we refer that out. We do tons of estate planning and estate thoughts, but we don't actually keep a JD on staff to write the documents. So we like to kind of help you serve as the quarterback, figuring out how do you get all the specialist positions in place to make sure that your financial plan is moving in the same direction towards one common goal. I think that's a great way to do it.